Welcome to the Having It All podcast, the show about what it takes to live an abundant, loving life. My name is Matthew Bivens, and each week I'm helping you get out of your head so that you can truly have it all. Let's do it. What's going on, my awesome friend? Welcome back to the Having It All podcast. My name is Matthew Bivens, your balanced lifestyle coach, and I'm very thrilled you chose to come hang out with me here today on the show to talk about having it all. You know, there's a lot of people out there that are going to tell you that you cannot have it all, that it is selfish for you to believe you can have it all, and that you have to choose. And guess what? They're correct. They're correct because of their context. Here in this conversation, we all believe we can have it all. And I give you a different context, a different way to look at that question, can I have it all? Here, having it all means living an abundant, loving life. That's what the ALL stands for in having it all, abundant, loving life. And you can break that down even further. You can ask yourself, am I experiencing abundance and love in the 6 key areas of life? Faith, family, friends, fitness, finance, and fun. We call those the 6 F's. If you can say, yep, I'm experiencing abundance and love the way that I would like to be experiencing it in those 6 F's, guess what? You're having it all. And even if you aren't experiencing it exactly the way that you want, you can say with confidence that you're on the pathway to having it all, because right now you have a new context around it. So I'm very excited to get into this conversation because I love holding space for you and every single other person out there, because we all can have it all. And if it's your first time checking out the podcast today, I want to say thank you. Thanks for hitting play, taking a risk, gambling some of your time. I understand that that is a big thing because you won't get this time back. So thank you for doing that. And if you are returning to the show again, this is not your first time, I want to give you a big shout out because you are a huge reason why this podcast is nearing its 5th year. We're going on 5 years, people. That is a beautiful thing. So thank you. All right. Whatever device you're listening on right now is a great time to hit subscribe. So hit subscribe on your podcast app. And if you want to leave me a rating and review, you can do so over at Apple Podcasts. Just leave whatever rating you want. Leave whatever review you want. I'm serious about that. Whatever you want to say, give me the feedback. I really want to hear it. And if you are leaving a rating or review on a different podcast app, not Apple Podcasts, cool, do that as well. And take a screenshot of it and email it to me, just so I can make sure that I see it, because there's a lot of different podcast apps out there these days, and I might miss your review. I don't want to miss it. So screenshot it and send it to matthew@matthewbivens.com. And if you just want to connect with me, if you want to ask me questions, if you want to make recommendations for topics, you just want to say what's up, then please reach out. Again, matthew@matthewbivens.com, or you can jump over to Instagram. I'm at Matthew_Bivens. All right. Today, we are continuing the monthly habit focus series, where I'm bringing you at the top of each month, I'm bringing you one type of habit that I'm challenging you to work on this month. It's a habit that is crucial for living an abundant, loving life, crucial for having it all. And so this month, this is all about getting grounded. This is about getting grounded. So we're going to talk about what that means. What does getting grounded actually mean? What does it look like? What are some of the habits that you can use to get grounded? And I'm going to share with you some of the things, very specific things that I do on a daily and weekly basis that help me to get grounded. And I'm going to talk about why it's so important to get grounded. So it's going to be a great conversation. And again, it's helping you to develop these habits that are going to help you have it all, because your habits are what make up your character. And your character sets you on a trajectory for the rest of your life. So we really want to explore and examine our habits to make sure they are the most effective for where we want to end up. So that's what I'm helping you do each and every month. Let's kick things off with some magic, because I got a lot of magic to share with you all today. I'm going to try to condense it down. And if you forgot, magic and magical moments, that's where we influence ourselves, others, and life in an empowering way. And you're doing it all the time, but if you're not stopping to reflect on it, then you're missing it. You're missing these magical moments and they're passing you by. And the reason why I want to grow that magic muscle in you, that muscle that has you stopping and reflecting, is because more magical moments is a byproduct of having it all. When you're living an abundant, loving life, magical moments are popping off all around you. So you might be having it all right now, but you don't think you are, because you're not stopping to see those moments and see the ways that you're influencing your life around you. So that's what we're here to do. So my magic is this really tremendous conversation that I had last week with a friend of mine. And I've known her now for maybe a year or so. And she reached out to me. So she's in I've mentioned my COI, Circle of Influence group here in Atlanta, these small groups, these small personal development accountability groups. I run one. So I have one with 6 other people. And then my friend is in a different one. And in her COI, the conversation came up about her being biracial. And one of the things that sort of bubbled to the surface during that conversation was that, she doesn't really feel like she has many people to talk to about being biracial. And so members of that group were like, hey, listen, you might want to consider having a conversation with Matthew. He's biracial as well. And he's talked about these things, and I'm sure he'd be open to talk to you. So she reached out to me. We set up a date, and we had our conversation last week. And let me tell you, it was so magical to just be able to sit across the table from somebody who's had a very similar experience in growing up. My mother's Caucasian, my father's African American, same for her. And for me, I've had some people in my life, friends, acquaintances, other than my sisters, who are biracial, who I've had some conversations with. Haven't really gone into too much depth. And so here I was last week able to not only hold space for her and answer questions that she had and, provide rich conversation for her, but also for me as well. Like, it was as much of a magical conversation for me to be able to share, to be able to hear her side, to be able to say to myself, wow, you know what? There's a lot of people who have very, very similar life experiences of being biracial. So there was really some tremendous magic in that conversation, and it got so vulnerable. Like we allowed ourselves to be so vulnerable in sharing about a lot of things. And what's beautiful is the conversation flowed. It started out about our lives growing up being biracial and the things that we faced and the struggles and all these different things. And then we talked about relationships, and we talked about sex and intimacy and pornography, and we went in. And we were in the middle of like this coffee shop here in Atlanta. So I know people around us were like, what are these two talking about? And that in and of itself is magical, to be able to feel comfortable having such a raw conversation. So overall, it was an incredibly magical experience. I'm looking forward to more conversations with her. And I'm looking forward to unpacking whatever there is in me to continue to unpack about my experience and the stories that I adopted and the beliefs that I adopted about myself and others, because there absolutely is still some stuff that isn't really serving me. Things that I wore on, beliefs that I wore on when I was younger that I'm still wearing on today that don't help. So I'm excited about that whole process. And it reminds me that I talked about my experience of being biracial on the podcast almost 2 years ago. And the episode is titled, My Experience, Struggles, and Lessons of Being Biracial. And that was published back in February 27th of 2018. So if you're interested in a conversation like that, go check out this episode, My Experience, Struggles, and Lessons of Being Biracial. And I remember when I published that episode 2 years ago, I got a lot of really powerful feedback from folks who had similar life experiences. Mixed race folks who were like, hey, when you said this, I could relate. Or, hey, have you ever thought of this? So if that's you, go check it out. I don't know if you have a similar experience of me where you just maybe didn't feel like you had a lot of people to talk about this with, this significant part of yourself and your identity. I want to create the space for all of us to have these conversations, whether you're biracial or not, because there's still opportunity to understand to understand another person's perspective. So that's my magic. That's my magic. That's my magic. All right. Now is opportunity for you to hit pause and to reflect on a piece of magic for yourself. How have you influenced yourself, others, or life in an empowering way recently? Take the time. Seriously, hit pause right now, whatever you're doing, and just reflect on one moment. It can be small, it can be big. All of it's important. Once you're done doing that, we're going to jump over to listener love. And today, this particular listener love, this individual is somebody who I appreciate and admire in a lot of ways. And she's been a longtime listener of the show, has reached out multiple times. I'm sure I've mentioned her name on the show before. And this time around, she was giving me some additional ideas to go along with my word for the year episode. So if you've been listening for a significant period of time, you know that in December, January each year, I do a word for the year episode to help people develop a word for the year that they can play for throughout their year. So after that episode published, this listener reached out to me and she said, "Hey, I loved your word for the year. I went through your process and here's the word that I came up with." And then she offered a couple of ideas. So I want to give a huge shout out to Katya. Thank you, Katya, for reaching out to me and for giving me your 2 ideas that I've been so excited to share with everybody. And these are ideas as to how you can keep your word for the year on top of mind. Really, really simple things. The first one was changing your cell phone background to the word or a graphic of the word, something like that. And Katya, you shared with me a screenshot of yours, and it was fantastic. So every time you pick up your phone, boom, you see your word for the year. I think that's wonderful. You could even do it with your lock screen if you want. Whatever it is, it's like right there on your phone. And I mean, we pick up our phone dozens and dozens of times a day, a lot of people. So that's a great place to put it. And then the second one I was so excited about, it was your password. Changing your password to be your word for the year or some variation of that. And I love that. I hadn't thought about that before. And so I started doing that, my word for the year plus all these different characters and numbers and symbols and all that, because I've shared what my word is on the show. It's clarity. So I want people to be like, "Oh, Matthew's password is clarity 1 2 3 4." But just that idea of making your password your word for the year is so great. So Katya, thank you so much for the ideas. Thank you for just being such a consistent listener and a huge supporter of the show and the mission and the community. You rock, and I appreciate you greatly. If you'd like to reach out to me the way that Katya did with some ideas or shout outs or questions, whatever it is, you can hit me up on my email, matthew@matthewbivens.com, or again, jump over to Instagram. I'm at Matthew_Bivens, and we can connect. All right. You ready to talk about getting grounded? You ready to get grounded with the idea of getting grounded? Because I am. And this is a key fundamental habit for me, and it's something that I really wanted to share with you all, because when you know how to ground yourself, it makes handling life's stressors more manageable. And we all experience stress in life. Life is stressful. However, we don't all relate to stress in the same way, right? And so I don't necessarily think the goal is to get rid of stress, reduce stress, because again, by nature, life is stressful. Like just being alive, you've got certain responsibilities, you got certain things weighing on you, and yeah, that can also be considered stress. What I play for is, how can I improve my relationship towards the stress? Meaning, when the stress hits me, how can I improve the way that I respond to it? How can I reduce the impact that stress has on me? And so I always like to use the example of running on a treadmill, right? As you go faster and faster on the treadmill, the stress goes up. So how do you relate to the treadmill going up faster and faster and faster, right? Some people, they use their breathing. They slow their mind down. They focus on one point on the floor in front of them, and they just breathe, right? That's one way to relate to the increase in stress. Another way to relate is to panic, to start thinking, I can't breathe. My legs are going to fall off. I can't do this, and have your mind racing. Those are different ways to relate to the same thing, stress. So, excuse me, getting grounded is so important, and learning how to get grounded is so important because it equips you with more effective ways to relate to stress. And habits around getting grounded are simply habits to help you get into your body, get into your breath, and handle the weight of life, handle the things that are coming at you. So I looked for some definitions of, what does it mean to get grounded, being grounded. And one that I really enjoyed was from the website Mind Body Green. So I'm going to read that for you right now. They wrote, being grounded means that you're present in your body and connected with the earth. When you're grounded, you allow yourself to feel centered and balanced no matter what's going on around you. If you aren't grounded, you're like a leaf in the wind, very vulnerable and thrown off balance very quickly. But when you are well grounded, you are like a big, strong tree. If something happens around you, it doesn't influence you so much, and you're able to feel much more peaceful and balanced in your daily life. To me, that is a perfect way to describe what it means to be grounded. And I love the visual of a leaf in the wind, right? Life creates wind. That's the stress. That's the circumstance. That's the ish hitting the fan. That's the wind of life. You can either be a leaf and get blown all around by the wind and get taken wherever the wind takes you, or you can be a tree, right? Trees feel the impact of the wind. It's windy right now outside my window. I can hear it. Those trees are moving. Those branches are swaying. Those leaves are rustling. But overall, that tree stays rooted in the ground. That's the difference between, again, on the treadmill. The speed goes up. The pace quickens. Are you going to be able to be focused and centered? Or are you panicked and frenzied all over the place? That's the difference between being a tree and being the leaf. So I really like that definition, and I want you to connect with that as we continue the conversation. So there's a couple of ways that I like to think about being grounded when I think of, like what does that actually mean? Physically, right? The Mind Body Green definition, one of the things they said was being connected with the earth. So yeah, you can actually get grounded by putting your feet on some ground. Take off your shoes, take off your socks, put your feet in the dirt, put your feet in the grass, put your feet on the concrete. That's one way to actually get grounded. And when it comes to being physically grounded, I like to think of being in your body, like feeling your body, right? And what happens physically when you get grounded is everything starts to slow down a little bit, right? Your heart rate slows down. Your breathing slows down. Your mental chatter slows down. Emotionally, when you're grounded, what happens is you start to feel more calm. You start to feel less emotional, less reactive, right? You're not reacting to so many things. And you start to feel more stable. So that's what it feels like to be grounded, to be in the center of yourself, to be calm. Now, I mentioned a little bit earlier about why learning how to get grounded is essential. But I want to dig into that a little bit more, because if you don't have a why around these sets of habits, you just won't do them, right? And so for me, the big reason why is that life is coming at you fast right now. And it's going to keep getting faster, and it's going to keep getting faster. The older you become, the more responsibilities pile on you. And so, again, if you don't have a way to get grounded, and if you're not turning to those habits, those methods of getting grounded throughout your day, throughout your week, then the stress of life can and sometimes will take you out. It'll take you right out. Again, think about the wind and the leaf or the tree. You might feel like a leaf right now, constantly getting blown around by the wind, right? When you are that leaf, you might have something that you want to do or direction you want to go, but as soon as that wind kicks up, boom, you're in another space. You're being pushed around over here, right? And you may not feel like you have anything that you can do anything to stop the wind from moving you in any direction. You might feel powerless to that wind. Life stressors can have you feeling that way. That when the stress kicks up, it's like a super windy day. And now you're just holding on for dear life, just trying to make it through the next moment, just trying to make it through the next day, just trying to make it through the next week. Versus being that tree that can weather the wind, weather the storm, while it continues to grow, while it continues to thrive. When you don't have grounding habits and you don't know how to become grounded, you are so much more susceptible to being overwhelmed by the stresses of everyday life. And what happens, you might start to see this within yourself, you begin reacting to whatever's coming at you. You feel like you're always on your heels. You're always feeling rushed, feeling like you never have the time to get everything done. You never have the energy to get everything done that needs to be done. It leads to feeling frazzled. It leads to feeling unfocused. It can lead to feeling like you're losing the battle to life. What happens when that continues for a long period of time, when that's kind of your sustained state, you are heading towards some sort of breakdown. And breakdowns can be of all magnitudes. And typically, when a person is being blown around by the winds of life for long enough, you turn to things to help you to gain some sort of grasp. Not always are they healthy things. We turn to food. We turn to alcohol. We turn to cigarettes. We turn to drugs. We turn to whatever we need to do to get one little moment where the wind doesn't feel like it's so strong. But what that is you are trying to get temporary relief for a larger issue going on. And so the reason why having these habits is so essential is it because it helps you to actually deal with the things that are coming at you. Not just ride the wind, but actually grow some roots. Grow some roots so that the wind, yes, it might move you side to side, but it won't topple you over. It won't have you blowing all over the place. That's why I work on cultivating these habits that I'm going to share with you in just a moment. That's why this is such an important part of having it all, because life is just going to continue to throw stuff at you. It just will. You get a promotion, boom, more responsibility. You upgrade your house, boom, more responsibility. Get a new car, boom, more responsibility. You adopt a new cat, boom, more responsibility. You want to add to your family, you want another child? Well, there you go, a lot more responsibility. Maybe you have an aging parent and now you bring them into your home. Wow, more responsibility. That's the winds of life, kicking up, kicking up, kicking up, kicking up. So these habits help you to put down some roots, to go from that leaf to a tree, so that you can withstand those winds, right? And so that you can have a greater life experience. Okay, you all get it. I've sold it well enough. And if I haven't, then you've already turned the episode off anyway. So let's get into some specific ways and simple ways. I want this to be simple, all right? Simple, specific ways to get grounded. The first one, you probably knew this was coming. Breathing. Breathing. When life hits you and that stress is coming hard and fast, a lot of us forget to breathe, right? Or we don't breathe very effectively. I've heard clients tell me that when they're in the midst of some stress, they'll find themselves gasping for breath out of nowhere. They'll just be in it, and go, because they realize they've forgotten to breathe. So one of the most simple habits is just taking a deep breath. In through your nose and out through your mouth. That right there takes 4 seconds. 2 seconds in, 2 seconds out. But it helps you to get a little bit grounded. A little bit grounded. It helps calm your body. It helps calm your mind. It helps loosen up tension. It can loosen tension in your jaw, in your shoulders, in your hands. Just one deep breath. It's a very simple and pretty darn effective way to help you get grounded. Now, if you wanted to turn it up a notch, you can do more than one deep breath. One of the habits that I do throughout the week is I do 10 deep breaths. Just like I showed you, just 10 deep breaths, 10 times. And what that does is it really helps me to get out of my head and just get into the moment, because 10 deep breaths might take you a minute or something. And so if you just pause for 1 minute and you intentionally take 1 minute to breathe, you're going to slow things down. And you're going to feel more in your body. And remember, that's part of getting grounded. So first simple habit, simple way to get grounded is through breathing. Second grounding habit that I want to share with you is noticing what's going on in and around you. Just noticing. All right? So it could look like you're at your desk, you're feeling it, you're feeling the wind, you're feeling the stress, and you push away from the desk and you just notice the color of the room around you. And a lot of times this one is accompanied by a breath, right? You push away from the desk, you take a deep breath, and then you just look up and you notice the decor on the wall. Or you go outside, you walk outside, and you notice the temperature. You notice the heat, or you notice the cold, or you notice the wind, or you notice the rain. Or you could simply close your eyes and notice the beat of your heart, the rhythm of your pulse. You can close your eyes and notice the stress in your shoulders. Notice the tightness in your jaw. This one is, again, simple. It's all about just taking a moment to notice what's going on. What's going on in you, what's going on around you. What that helps you do is it helps to create just a little bit of separation from the stress, the anxiety, the thoughts that are running a mile a minute. If you can notice the color of your desk, that right there can create just a tiny bit of space, just the amount of space for a sliver of paper to get in, for you to then be able to separate from what's going on that's got you feeling so frazzled. So, simple way to get grounded, number 2, is just to notice what's going on. Another way to get grounded, this one came courtesy of my lovely Queen Sarah. She's like, hey, listening to music, that helps me get grounded. And that's a great one, listening to music. Grabbing one of your favorite songs, putting it on. You know, one of the things that I used to turn to music for was one of the reasons was that music could help put me in like a meditation. I used to lay on the ground. I did this after kind of in college when I was living by myself. It'd be late at night, midnight or something. The world's quiet. I'd lay on the ground. I'd take my speakers. I had these big old speakers and subwoofer, and I put them right on either side of my head, right next to my ears. And I had a playlist of songs that were just kind of like chill, kind of like steady beats, and I would play it loud. And I would just lay down and close my eyes and just go for a ride, right? Like listening to music can impact our emotional state. Music has different effects for different people. But one of the things that it can help you do is to, again, separate you a little bit from that wind of life that's been whooping your butt. So listening to some sort of music can be a very effective way to get you grounded, to help you get out of your head, get you out of the emotion that's got you feeling the way that you're feeling. So that's simple way number 3. The next one I got for you is writing things down. Writing down what's going on. It can be a very effective way for you to release it. And even if it's not releasing it, it just takes a little bit of the pressure, takes a little bit of the edge off when you grab a pen and you just write down how you're feeling. So again, when the winds of life are whipping you around and you're feeling exhausted and you're feeling frustrated and you're feeling like you're losing grip, if you can just remind yourself to get to a pad, get to your journal, and just write about it, that can have a very big impact on you. It has this way of helping you to see what's going on without you being so connected to what's going on. And that's important, because when we are really in it and we're swirling in the stuff, it's really hard to see any perspective, to see a way out, to see anything that's going to help you to process it. But when you write stuff down, it's a form of you getting it out. And I know for me personally, it can be very effective for me. So writing down what's going on, that's simple way number 4. And lastly, a simple way to get grounded. You probably were expecting me to say this at the beginning, but it's meditation. Meditation can 100% help you get grounded. And there's all different types of meditation. Go look them up. It's not just sitting in silence in lotus position. I meditated earlier today. That's not how I did it. I was laying down in my bed. I had a guided meditation on my phone, pulled it up off of YouTube. I actually set a timer for double the amount of the meditation time because I pretty much knew I was going to fall asleep, and I did. And I meditated. And yesterday I went for a walk with my dog, and that's how I meditated. So however you choose to do it, cool, do it. But the act of intentional meditation can and many times is very grounding. It can help you to achieve all the things I mentioned earlier. Slow your heart rate down, slow your breathing down, slow your mental chatter down, emotionally feel more stable, more calm, get out of that reacting space. All of those things tend to happen when you meditate. And let go of this idea that you're doing it wrong. I hear that a lot of people don't even try because they don't know how to do it, or they try but they don't feel like they're doing it correctly, so they stop. It's a practice. Give yourself a year of doing it consistently before you start to judge whether you're doing it right or wrong. And if you haven't even gotten close to that, then okay, just jump in it. Don't worry about it. Just jump in it. Because a lot of times it's about being intentional to do something that helps you get grounded, that actually helps you get grounded. Think about that. A lot of times it's not the habit itself. It's not the specific habit. It's just the fact that you took out time to do something. Because again, that can help you gain a little bit of perspective to get, above all the wind. So I share with you 5 habits here: breathing, noticing what's going on, listening to music, writing down what's going on, and meditation. And I have found at different times each one of those to be an effective way to help me get grounded. And that is not an exhaustive list, clearly. There are dozens and hundreds and thousands of ways you can get grounded. Again, it's this idea of feeling, oh man, I am feeling stressed, I'm feeling worried, I'm feeling out of my body and disconnected. I want to get grounded, so let me do blank. That right there is what's going to help you get grounded. And you fill in the blank with whatever you want. Doesn't matter. Fill up your bathtub and splash around. Throw something at a wall. You know what I mean? Cook yourself a meal. Whatever. Figure something out. But just taking that time to intentionally get into your body, get out of your head, connect, slow things down, that right there is really what's going to do it for you. So I'm going to share with you now my process for getting grounded. And the things I share are sort of when the wind is just barely blowing to when the wind gets pretty strong, what I do. So when the winds first start kicking up and I notice myself, it's typically because I'm like, I got 2 or 3, 4 things that I want to accomplish in a day, and I've got 5 more things going on in my mind, and I'm working on one thing. So I kind of feel like I'm being pulled in different directions. First, the most simple thing I do is take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. 1, 2, 3, however many I feel like I need. And I really try to get the breath all the way down and see my stomach expand, and then exhale. That's the first thing I turn to when I'm feeling the winds kick up. Now, if the wind keeps getting stronger and the breathing's not working for me, then what I like to do is actually step away from my desk, step away from whatever it is that I'm consumed with at the time, stand up and stretch. And for me, I do two types of stretches. I simply stand with my legs straight and I bend over. I bend forward, try to touch my toes. Because a lot of times if I'm stressed about something going on with work, I feel it in my back, and bending down, touch my toes feels fantastic all along my entire back and my shoulders, because I carry stress on my shoulders too. So stretching, my back helps, and then also just rolling my neck. Just putting my chin to my chest and then lifting my head up and side to side, because again, I carry my stress in my neck and my shoulders and my back. So that's what I do if the winds have picked up a little bit and breathing didn't get the job done. Now, if the winds are continuing to pick up and something's really weighing on me, I'm like, all right, I need to do something else. I will go outside for a walk. I'll go for a walk. And the length of that walk will vary. Typically, I grab my dog and we go out. So it's probably at least 5 minutes, at least 10 minutes maybe. And then yesterday, I went for like a 45-minute walk. I just kept going. And it was great. I didn't bring any music. I didn't bring anything with me. I just went for a walk. And that helps me. That helps me because I'm outside. I love being outside. So getting outside, breathing fresh air, seeing the sun. In this case, it was super cold yesterday, so feeling the cold, it's kind of like that briskness that wakes you up. That was very effective for me. So that's like level 3. Now, if we're at a level 4 event and stuff's really going down and I'm really feeling it all over, then I tend to go meditate. I'll tend to go meditate or just sit in silence. And sometimes it's not sitting, it's laying down. So it's not quite napping because I don't typically nap when I've got a lot on my mind. Like I nap when I feel like I've got, a break. I'll go take a nap. I got a break. There's nothing going on right now. But if there's a lot on my mind and I'm really feeling the winds of life kick up, sometimes I just need to stop doing anything and lay down. And it can turn into a meditation, or sometimes it's just me laying in silence. Just pausing. Like I used to watch Saved by the Bell when I was a kid, and I remember the main character, Zach, he'd be like, time out. And everybody in the scene would just freeze, and he'd be the only one talking still. That's kind of like what I like to do. Hey, I need a timeout. I need to go back in the room and just chill for 10 minutes, or I need to go outside and sit at the table and just meditate for a few minutes. When I do that, I come back in and I'm back in my center and I'm ready to go. And I'm ready to tackle whatever it is I need to tackle, because I understand I took on a lot of responsibility in my life. I took on a lot of things, and there's more things I want to take on. So those winds are going to kick up from time to time. And these are the habits that I turn to when the winds go from mild to, damn near hurricane level. All right. So by this point, I've shared with you a lot about getting grounded. I gotta believe, and I truly believe, that you have some ideas in your mind right now about things you can do to help you get grounded. And you might find yourself in a couple of different camps. You might be like, hey, I already knew what I do to get grounded, and this conversation just helped reinforce that. Or you might be thinking, I didn't know anything to do to get grounded, but I actually have a couple of ideas now. Okay, cool. Or maybe you're just you're still not sure of what you can do. And if that's you, then I think you just need to separate yourself a little bit from this conversation and from whatever's going on in your life, because I can almost guarantee that there's something that you've done to help you get into your center of yourself, get out of your head and get into your body. So now I want to give you your assignment. So what I want you to work on this month, because remember, this is the monthly habit focus. So throughout the month of February, work on getting grounded. Work on getting grounded. Work on adding some sort of grounding habit into your tool belt that you turn to regularly. So here's what you do. First, decide on 2 ways that help you get grounded. 2 ways. The first way that helps you get grounded, I want you to have a way for when you start to notice the winds of life picking up a little bit. You're like, oh man, my clothes are rustling a little bit. I need to turn to my grounding habit. That's way number 1. Way number 2 is when things are really blowing. When life is really kicking, those winds are blowing like crazy, what are you going to use? So I want you to have two methods to getting grounded. One for when things are just a little bit breezy, and one for when it's like a straight up hurricane going on. Step 2 for your assignment is I want you to practice those habits when times are calm. I want you to practice them when times are calm. So, for example, let's say, okay, you say, I'm going to use one deep breath when the wind picks up a little bit. Great. Practice one deep breath now. Practice it in the next hour. Practice it before dinner. Practice it when you get in the car. Practice it all the time when things are calm. Because here's what's going to happen. When the stress hits you, when the wind hits you, you're not going to remember to go to this grounding habit. You're going to go to whatever way you've trained yourself to react to the stress. Now, if you've been practicing that habit and reminding yourself, okay, this is what I'm going to do when things get tough. This is what I'm going to do when things get windy. This is what I'm going to do when the stress kicked up. And you do that when times are calm. Well, when the wind does hit you, when the stress does hit you, you might just remember, ooh, what is the thing that I said I was going to do when the wind hits? Oh yeah, breathe. And you've already practiced and felt what it's like to take that deep breath in, let that deep breath go. So that's why you practice it when times are calm, so that you've got it ready to turn to when times get rough. So that's the second step of your assignment, is to practice it. The third step I want you to do, and this is to help you practice, is put reminders in your phone. Put reminders in your phone and put the time on your calendar. So if you're using breath again, 1 or 2 deep breaths, then just put some reminders that pop up on your phone. You know, you might want to set like 3 alarms, a morning alarm, around lunchtime alarm, and then evening alarm. And when the alarm goes off, your phone beeps. You just stop right there and you breathe. Just practice it. Breathe. But use your phone to remind you, because your brain's going to forget. I can guarantee you, if you leave it up to your brain, you'll just forget all this stuff and you won't do it. And you'll be getting blown around by the wind, feeling stressed, feeling all that stuff. So use your phone to put reminders, put it on your calendar, right? If you're drawn to like going for a walk, well, put it on your calendar when you're going to go for a walk. Don't just leave it up to when you have the time, because you already know something's going to fill that time up unless you've got it blocked off. So step number 3 for your assignment is to utilize your technology, whatever you've got, utilize it to your advantage. Technology can also be Post-it notes, right? Write a note, stick it on your computer, stick it on your fridge, stick it on your bathroom mirror to remind yourself. Step number 4 is, by this point, is to use it. Use the habits. You know, you just want to try to use it one time when you otherwise wouldn't have. You want to use your grounding habits at least one time when you otherwise wouldn't have. And then you got to celebrate that. To be like, wow, you know what? Normally in this moment, I turn to my soda when I get stressed and the winds are hitting me. But this time, I went and I listened to some music. Like, yo, props to me. High five yourself. You know, you gotta use it and then acknowledge it and celebrate it. That's going to help you to do it more often. Step number 5, last step, share with me your results. Let me know how it's going for you. Let me know how you're struggling with it, how it's flowing, all that stuff, right? Because that's going to help you make it real as well. And I'm going to be able to support you in any way that you might want some support. So that's what we got for today and for this month of the monthly habit focus, all around getting grounded. If you want to reach out, again, share your results with me or ask me any questions, you can do so. My email is matthew@matthewbivens.com. Instagram is @Matthew_Bivens. I appreciate you tuning in today. If you've missed last week's monthly habit focus, go check that out. It's the first episode of the month of January. It was all about clarity, getting clear. And so we're going to be doing this again at the beginning of every month. The first episode of every month is going to be a new habit or a new set of habits for you that are going to help you to have it all, because these are some essential things that I really want you to have in your repertoire. All right. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Appreciate you listening. My name is Matthew Bivens. Here is to you having it all. Quick note about the Having It All podcast. I am not a doctor nor a licensed therapist. I'm a guy with a story and a passion for conscious conversation. My thoughts, opinions, and beliefs are my own. So please consult with your doctor or healthcare provider regarding any questions or issues you have related to your personal physical or mental health.